Welcome to Digication Scholars Conversations. I'm your host, Kelly Driscoll. In this episode, you'll hear my conversation with Thaddaeus Canuel, a recent graduate of Arizona State University. More links and information about today's conversation can be found on Digication's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Full episodes of Digication Scholars Conversations can be found on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Welcome to Digication Scholars Conversations. I'm your host, Kelly Driscoll, and today I am so excited to introduce Thaddaeus Canuel. Thaddaeus is a recent alumni from Arizona State University, and I happened to learn about Thaddaeus from his ePortfolio, which was so beautifully shared in the school's ePortfolio directory. And I actually had a chance to have a wonderful conversation with one of his teachers, Gina Woodall, who oversees many of the internships that happen at Arizona State University in the political science area. And Thaddaeus' ePortfolio is a result of one of those ePortfolios. So Thaddaeus, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to give you the opportunity to tell your story.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
So I mentioned Thaddaeus is a recent alumni. Thaddaeus, could you tell us a little bit about what you majored in at Arizona State University?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually did a double major, and so I studied political science and psychology, and so now I'm happy to say I have two bachelors. It's very exciting.
Very exciting. And as I mentioned, I learned about you from your ePortfolio. At what point in your studies did you start taking courses with Gina? How did you get involved in this internship experience?
Well, it's actually really funny because this internship class was the first time that I'd really interacted with Gina significantly. I was in this it was the School for Politics and Global Studies is the school at ASU that I was in.
Mhm.
And I'd been with several professors before who had spoken very fondly of Gina and like Professor Strickland, um, things like that. And so it was actually Professor Strickland who got me onto this internship track. Um, it was last summer, summer 22, that I interned in DC in the House of Representatives. And it was because Professor Strickland had nominated me for this internship program with the Fund for American Studies, TFAS. And that just basically it lit a fire inside of me. I had a huge passion for working in politics then from that point on. And so then I managed to get another internship in DC. And so I took that internship program, I took that internship class with Gina and working with her to do my portfolio and learning everything that I did from my internship and doing the reports and everything. It was just that semester was just a wonderful experience for me.
Awesome. And I look forward to hearing more about that. And one of my questions about the latest internship, what was the duration of that? How long did you get to spend time in DC?
So it was for about 4, almost 5 months. It was for the entirety of the spring 2023 semester. I was there from I was there from early January to early May. So yeah, 4 or 5 months.
Nice. So before you came to ASU, you mentioned that you had a double major. Had you always been interested in studying political science? What led you in that direction from the beginning?
Uh, yes, I have always been interested in that. It's actually a really funny story. I had been involved with politics and the law and the court since sixth grade, actually. I joined a
Oh,
courtworks program, a
wow.
mock trial club in sixth grade. Yeah. And I had been involved with that for all 3 years of middle school. And then when I went to high school, at my high school, there's this really cool organization called the Arizona Teen Court Association, where I where we were able to have a peer jury trial for adolescents in our area who had committed misdemeanors. And they had in trial, they had already pled guilty. And so then
Mm-hmm.
the judge refers them to our program. And then we basically conduct a trial where we find out um, why they did what they did and learn their story. Um, and then from that, we determine what reparations will be necessary for them to repair the harm that they've committed to their that they've inflicted on the community, things like that. And then it's really awesome because then once they
Mm-hmm.
fulfill these reparations, their records are cleaned. It gives them a second chance, and the program is incredible. It's been proven to reduce recidivism rates dramatically. I think it's over 90% of the adolescents who come through the Teen Court program do
Wow.
do not get do not get detained again by police. And so it's a really incredible program and I loved it.
Yeah.
And so just being involved with these types of programs since middle school all the way until I graduated and went to ASU. I knew that it was always going to be something that I was going to be involved in. And so yeah, I studied political science just from the get-go. I just knew that it was something that I always wanted to do.
Well, what an incredible experience for you to have had in middle school and then in high school working with, you already got to have these kind of real world opportunities. And I imagine that, being able to see your impact on the youth that were really on both sides, right? Those that were involved in the trial and the individuals that were kind of growing from those experiences that they had that led them to be in that position in the first place. And wonderful to hear that it's made such marked
Mhm.
change on the community there too. Sounds like that's really set people on a lot of positive paths on both sides. So I was curious, before you were working in the ePortfolio, I know one of the big reasons that it's been implemented at Arizona State University and used in the political science kinds of disciplines is so that students are having an opportunity to really reflect on their various learning experiences that they're having. And was that something that you had been accustomed to before you started using the ePortfolio? And how did you use it as part of your internship?
Well, yeah, I guess I would say I wasn't very accustomed to doing stuff like that before. Um, it was yeah, it was definitely, yeah, not something I was very used to, because then people would just I would just my previous internships, people would just ask me, it's like, "Oh, what did you do at your previous internship?" And I was like, "Oh, I did like this
Mhm.
and that," just trying to like come up with stuff off the top of my head. But then right. But then this portfolio actually it did really help me, especially because with our class, it was like you need to update your ePortfolio regularly as like part of your assignments. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And so any major project that I worked on in my internship, I made sure I got a copy of it to put into my ePortfolio. I mean, you said you like looked over it, so like one of my pages, it's that there's several like reports that I wrote, or honestly, even
Yeah.
I've managed to get one of the copies of like the bill text of a bill that I had to analyze. I was able to put all that in, and so putting those things in on a regular basis and putting in those trying to critically evaluate like the skills that I was developing and honing while I was in this internship and putting those into my portfolio, I think it did really help me. And especially now that even I don't necessarily even have to refer to my ePortfolio to really know what I did in that internship. When people ask me, it's because I did that. It's because I did that. It like grounded me in my internship and really helped me to see everything that I did and everything that I benefited from from that internship. And so now it's much easier for me if, if they say, what did you do at your internship in the House? I'll still kind of be like, like, let me think for a second. But then if they say, what did you do in your internship at the Senate? I'll be like, oh, I got you. I got this, this, and this. Like, so it definitely helped me to fully realize the benefits that I gained from this internship. So yeah, I'm definitely grateful for it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And those are definitely the stories that we like to hear. And it's one of the reasons that I think it's so important to include the student perspective in these conversations too. I know when many educators start using the what we kind of call folio thinking or portfolio kinds of pedagogy, we often are aware that students may be creating the ePortfolios as part of a class experience, internship experience, but it's something that those that are using it mindfully really want it to be of value for the student even beyond that particular course or even time at the institution. And one of the things that research has shown is that as students are kind of going through that process and reflecting on their learning, whether they do have the opportunity to share their portfolio with people outside of the school or not, that they've become much better communicators about their skills, what those learning experiences really did for them, how it's shaped them as a person, and can often kind of sometimes serve as solidifying the trajectory that they might be on, but also may bring some things to light that create opportunities for students to pivot in what they may want to do in the future, whether it's pursuing different things within their education or what kind of career path they may go on. So I was curious, as part of the internship experience, you mentioned that there's a number of different examples of work that you did during your time at the Senate, some of the reports and things of that nature. What was the process like for you to kind of choose what you wanted to include within the ePortfolio? Because it seems like that was somewhat open, because everybody was having different kinds of experiences. So, what kind of artifacts or pieces of work were you selecting that you wanted to share? And were there any kind of permissions that you needed to get from the people that you were working with at the Senate? How did you kind of handle what you wanted to put in and who you were going to share it with and how you were going to get the okay to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was actually pretty easy. I mean, basically for how I decided what I wanted to include, I was basically the things that took the most effort and the most time. Like, I know I put in the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act for 2023, because that's like basically the budget bill for the Department of Defense. And it
Mm-hmm.
I spent like it must have been 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks, like almost an entire month, like working on this bill, analyzing it, going through all the appropriations and seeing like where funds got appropriated to, if Arizona got any
Mm-hmm.
if Arizona got any funds, because I'm from Arizona. I was working for an Arizona senator. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was just so much work. And so I got to the end and I was like, oh no, no, no. We're putting this in the portfolio. Like I'm gonna just like I'm gonna get credit for this. Like so I think definitely those ones. But then it's also, on a less pragmatic note, it's just like those were the ones that were the most significant to me, that meant the most to me. And I was like, I did really good work here. And so I wanna demonstrate that. Um, and then a lot of the other ones were reports on committee hearings. So those ones were
Mm-hmm.
pretty interesting. Those ones took me usually the better part of a day, because I'd be transcribing and summarizing the questions and the comments made and things like that. So yeah, just the things that I was basically the proudest of were the things that I put into the
Yeah.
portfolio. And then actually getting permission was really easy, well, because honestly, everything that I put in, I didn't really need permission because it's all public record.
Public
The
record, yeah.
NDAA was is publicly available on Congress.gov. And all the committee notes. I mean, yes, they were my work for the office, but the thing is, they were transcriptions and summaries of committee hearings that were also publicly available and things like that. So I didn't really need permission for any of those, just because they were already public knowledge. So I was just, yeah, just threw them in. So, but yeah, so yeah, that was my process. Definitely the stuff I was the proudest of. And yeah, it's easy to put in. So yeah.
So, Thaddeus, you mentioned as part of your internship in DC that it lasted around 4 to 5 months. And as part of this kind of reflective practice, how often were you adding new materials to your ePortfolio? And with all of the many things that you were handling day to day as part of the internship, I know you were very busy. How are you able to kind of set aside time to create those beautiful reflections that you have shared alongside the various documents and experiences within your portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. So, honestly, I feel like one of the first things I should do is thank Professor Woodall, Gina, because the way she set up the class was kind of genius. Um, so it's almost like she knows what she's doing. Like,
Yeah.
but so the way she had the class set up was that I think she had us update our portfolios as an actual assignment, maybe 4 or 5 times across the entire semester.
Hmm.
However, in addition to that, we also had these assignments where each week we had to submit an update of our internship and what was going on. And so then what I did was I had a little notebook with me, and I would have the days of the week written on my in my little notebook: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so then at the end of each day for my internship, I'd just take like 10, 20 seconds, just jot down like the two or three like big things that happened that day. It'd be like, this is the project I worked on. This is what was going through my head at the time. Or like, this is the big thing that went through my head that day. And
Hmm.
this is the thing that had the biggest impact on me. And sometimes that would be like a committee hearing, or sometimes that would be um sometimes I would just be talking to a constituent on the phone who just had like a really powerful story that I really enjoyed hearing about. That kind of thing. And so then at the end of the week, when the assignment was due, I'd go over those notes, and then I'd type up my update, usually like a paragraph to like a page about, and I'd submit it. And then when those assignments came up to update the portfolios, actually what I did a lot of times was that I went back to those notes and I went back to those weekly updates to read through kind of all of them and be like, okay, I can see like the overarching themes here, and I can see how my skill set in this specific area was improved and things like that. And so I was able to work on those, and I was able to update my portfolio in that way. And feel like those that self-reflection stuff, that stuff is um, kind of, for a while, it's been kind of easy for me now because I love to write in my kind of in my free time. I play around with like fictional stories, and I write stuff like that all the time. And so, like one of the big facets of that is, kind of delving into a character's mindset and kind of like, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? So the thing is that in my free time, I do that. So I'm already kind of used to it. So it's definitely easier for me to, write down a reflection about a project that I worked on, or my reflection on how my skills in this one area um, were honed over the course of the internship. So yeah, I feel like my proclivity in my hobbies, and then also Dr. Gina Woodall's genius class structuring is definitely helping me. Definitely helped me to hone in this portfolio to the point where, yeah, I think I worked on that portfolio um, maybe once every few weeks, maybe once
Mhm.
every month, maybe. But because of
Mhm.
like all the groundwork that I was laying because of the internship class, I was able to put so much into that portfolio every time that I came to look at it, even if it was like only like once a month.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's a great strategy that you had during your day to day to just kind of jot down for yourself some of the kind of key things that were happening, these kind of learning moments and feelings that you were having, experiences that happened that day that you could draw from as you were drafting these longer form kinds of reflections within the e-portfolio. And were you provided with any kind of prompts as part of developing the portfolio? Were there things that were kind of embedded in the portfolio pages that you were responding to, or maybe that were part of the assignment that you had received that were helping kind of guide how those reflections might be written?
Um, I guess not like explicitly. It was kind of one of those things where Dr. Woodall had the assignment on, and then at the very beginning of the semester, she was like, "Your big thing is going to be this e-portfolio. At the end of the semester,
Mhm.
you should have like a gorgeous e-portfolio that fully encompasses your entire internship." And so then right, pretty much like but then she had several examples down. And then she did kind of have like kind of a basic overview, a basic description. I can't even quite remember what it was, but I got the general idea. But I think most of the inspiration did come from the examples. Honestly, actually
Mm.
what I did, I think, was I basically whenever I was working on my portfolio, I'd have like one or two of the examples like in another tab on my computer so I could look and see like, okay, I see what they did here. And so I was like, oh, they did like these 3, 4 skills characteristics and they expanded on them in this portfolio. So let me think what 3 or 4 characteristics or skills that I feel were the most relevant to my internship. And let me expand on that. Um, a lot of that was going into a lot of that went into. So I drew a lot of inspiration from the examples that Dr. Woodall had provided.
I was just going to say that I think it's wonderful that you were able to see examples that were created by students in the past. I know ASU has put a lot of time and thought into creating templates for students that have some guidance and scaffolding in place for different experiences that they might be having. And you mentioned that many of the different pages kind of right at the beginning set several different skills right at the top. So, for those that are actually
Mhm.
viewing the portfolio as you're going through different pages, you see those skills listed. And that almost gives you a kind of sense of the narrative that you're going to have the opportunity to read more into as your interests may carry you through the various pages of the portfolio. So it's a really smart kind of strategy in guiding viewers through the various types of content and skills that you're going to be describing, and kind of setting the stage as you're moving through the portfolio, everything that you've been able to gain as part of this experience and growth that you've had, having these kinds of real world experiences. um, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it's interesting to hear, as you were crafting the various portfolios, that you were kind of thinking about those skills first and using that as a kind of guiding structure for developing the reflections and narratives that now live alongside those incredible documents that you've shared in the portfolio. So I had a question for you. When you were taking part in this internship experience, you mentioned that you were sharing the portfolio as it was being developed with your professor. at any point were you sharing it with other peers that were in your classes? Did you ever share, links with family, or did you share it with people that were also participating in the internship, whether it's people that were supervising you there or other peers that I don't know if you were placed with other peers in the same place, but what was the kind of audience around your portfolio as it was being created? And has that changed at all since you've graduated? I don't know if it's something that you still share with others today.
So during my semester, it was I think one of the things that I was kind of bummed about in this class was that most of the other students in the program were mostly in Arizona and we're studying there.
Okay.
And then here I am, clear across on the other side of the country, across like three different time zones here in DC. And so that was one of the things that I was slightly kind of bummed out about because I didn't really have much chance to interact with the other students in the class. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, the most opportunity that I had to interact with them was that we had a couple of discussion boards in Canvas for the assignment. Um, so yeah, I would have liked to have interacted with them more. But I mean, besides that, I did share it with some of my classmates, or I did share it with some of my colleagues. Sorry, in the internship. One of my colleagues, she's still a very good friend of mine. She was here. She was also from ASU here in DC, in a different program, and she was also doing. I think she was also doing an ePortfolio, and so we kind of compared notes, talking about or like sharing kind of like, oh, okay, like this is what I'm getting from the internship or this is what I'm doing. Um, and um, yeah, it was kind of a really cool experience to kind of compare our portfolios because like we were from the same school, we were from the same state, we were working for the same senator, and we were doing the same portfolios. But then even then, our portfolios were actually kind of like significantly different. And it was very intriguing
Yeah.
to like see the differences between our portfolios because like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize that you were getting this from this. I didn't even realize you were getting this from this internship. Like that's really cool, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely. It was definitely really cool to be able to compare our portfolios, and I do wish I did have a chance to share my portfolios more and kind of engage more with my classmates in the class. Like I definitely would have loved to have met with them and been kind of like, "Hey, let's go over our portfolios and stuff." And I would have loved to learn more about their internships as well because I know some of them were interning for the Arizona State Senate. And I know some of them were interning. I think one of them was interning for like the Arizona Attorney General and things like that. So I would have been like, oh my gosh, I would have loved to have been able to learn more about their internships. But I think it was just like just the distance and the time difference. Wasn't very feasible, but it's okay. I'm still very grateful for my experience.
And I also wanted to ask you too. You mentioned that you do a lot of creative writing in your free time and may have kind of a natural inclination and passion for writing. For students that might not have that same kind of drive for writing, that may be embarking on this portfolio experience, do you have any advice for them about how to kind of maybe think about the experiences that they're having? What are some of the kind of mindsets that you have when you sit down to write about yourself and your experiences?
Gosh, that is a good question because in my interactions with a lot of people, I have really found that there are pretty much like in that world, there really are like two types of people. There are the types of people who uh who love to read, like live and breathe the stuff and love to write, and their brains are just spouting out like entire universes and stuff like that, and it just comes so naturally to them. And then there are those who aren't like that. And there isn't really any in between. I've noticed. And so, and it really does seem to just be like people's brains just work differently. And so people who are have a proclivity for like reading or writing, it's really something that's like innate in them. And then yeah, the people who aren't, I mean, they're usually like so smart in other ways. Like, oh my gosh, math. The thing, they'll be like math geniuses. And I'll be like, you know, I got algebra. I understood that. I got to calculus. I was like, what the heck is this crap? So I'm like, good on them. Like, love that for them. And so, gosh, trying to think. So it was a very long-winded way of saying like it's a difficult question because these people who aren't inclined to read and write, their brains work very differently. And so I'm trying to come up with advice for them is really difficult. I mean, I would say um maybe for I could see like with movies and stuff like that when like characters talk about themselves like in movies or anything like that. Um just thinking about like what's going on in their heads during the movies. That's something that I try to do as well. Or like like in the rom-coms, there's always that like that tension rises up, and then there's the obligatory like burst of love confession that always happens in like the rom-coms, and it's hilarious. And the thing is, I think of it kind of like that. If people aren't inclined to like read and write, I'd be like, think about that. Like think about something where suddenly they're just spewing everything out, or writing letters to people and things like that, explaining how they feel, just
Mhm.
kind of those, kind of maybe putting it into like a real world context, be like, pretend that you are talking to somebody else, try to explain how you felt, or what you learned, what you experienced, just try to put it into a real world context, pretending that you are writing a letter or writing a report for somebody. I think like that's how I would do it. Because I feel like real world applications are always so important, especially for those people who are usually more grounded in, logic and math and that kind of stuff. I would definitely be like, put it in a real world context, pretend that it is something that you're doing like for a superior, or you're writing a letter to somebody who needs to know like your experiences and stuff like that. I guess that would be how I would do it. Real world applications are always a great thing. I'm a very hands-on person. I love real world applications. So I guess that would be like my number one recommendation.
Thank you. I think that's very useful. And it kind of goes back to this conversation about the audience around the ePortfolio too. If you're thinking about as you're writing the reflections, who do you want the reader to be? Who do you want the viewer of your experiences to be? Even if it may be more limited in the beginning, how might you share it more openly in the future? If that's your preference. So I was also curious,
Mhm.
Thaddeus, that do you think that this kind of reflective practice, now that you had it as part of that internship experience, is something that you'll continue using now that you've graduated?
Oh goodness. I certainly hope so. Because I think it was so valuable. I think um oh goodness gracious. Because I feel like there's always room for self-reflection. I think self-reflection and introspection is always such an important part of life. Because I feel if you don't, um, I feel like you're not going to make any real progress unless you really understand yourself. You're not going to be able to understand what's going on outside of you without the context of understanding what happens inside of you. Um, because um, I think one of the things that I learned a very long time ago, and it's something that I say a lot actually, um, that um, perspectives are subjective, and we experience reality through our perspective. And so even if we are observing like an objective reality, that is still our observation of that objective reality is still going to be subjective, because the way we interpret it and the way we perceive it is subjective based off of our own minds and the way our brain works. And so I feel that introspection and that self reflection and examining how we're learning, how we're growing, how we're thinking is so important, because we need to have that understanding to put our surroundings and our environment into the context of our perceptions. And so I definitely hope that I will continue using these skills, and I think I have been, maybe not so much, maybe not so explicitly as like writing down a paragraph of like, this is how I am reflecting on this, but definitely using those skills in my head more, kind of being like, okay, I'm seeing how I'm learning from this, I'm seeing how this can affect me down the road, and that kind of thing. But no, I definitely want to make sure that I keep this in my life, because again, I don't feel like you're going to be able to move forward in life and truly learn and grow from your surroundings without putting it into the context of your own personal perspective, because your personal perspective is the strongest influence in your life, because again, it is your perspective is how you process everything in your surroundings. So definitely understanding that and making sure that you're able to grow and recognize that growth is so important.
Thank you. That was really beautifully said. And as you were speaking, I was recalling a conversation we had. We weren't recording at the time, but we were having a conversation about how life can also often provide opportunities to pivot. And I was wondering, as part of your own kind of journey and growth, if you have any moments like that that you might like to share with our listeners.
Oh my gosh. I definitely have one. I might have another. I'm just trying to remember. But the number one that I think is the most hilarious is yeah, my big pivot in my senior year of high school. Because as I was saying, I'd been doing court works and teen court like through middle school and through high school. That was my extracurricular. Like that was what I did. And even for the teen court, I joined in my freshman year of high school. I joined the Teen Court Association. Sophomore year, I became the treasurer, and then junior and senior year, I was the president. And so that was my thing. And but it was really funny, because this entire time I had been wanting to go into engineering, because I am a sci-fi junkie. I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars. I love it. And so I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. I wanted to design like the spaceships and the space stations that we would use to like launch ourselves into the space age. Like that's what I wanted to do. Um, but then in junior year, I took Calculus 1, and I did not do well. And so um I went into senior year basically realizing like, wow, engineering is not for me. Like and so then I basically had like kind of this crisis, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going into my senior year of high school. I'm going to college next year, and I have no idea what I want to do. Um but then I kind of reevaluated myself, and then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing like court and law stuff since middle school. Why don't we try that?
Mhm.
And so then my senior year of high school, I took a ton of elective courses. I took criminal justice, I took AP psychology, um all these different classes, and I fell in love with these classes. Criminal justice was my absolute favorite class. AP psychology was my absolute favorite class. It was just the best experiences I'd ever had. I was a TA for my government teacher in my senior year
Mhm.
as well, and I just loved working with her as well. It was just absolutely incredible experience, and it was like a whole new world had been opened up to me. I always tell people, it's like senior year, those classes I took, it was like a fish finally being like thrown into the water. And I was like, oh my gosh. So definitely a huge pivot in my senior year of high school. So like honestly probably like the most inopportune time, or maybe the most opportune, because I'm definitely glad that I went into college with the intention of studying political science instead of going into college with the intention of studying engineering. So yeah, definitely the big pivot of my life. And then I think the other big pivot of my life was when I was in my um summer internship last year. Um and then I was just kind of going through the motions and everything, but then I was at an event for my program. Um and then my Arizona senator was speaking at this event. And so Senator Kyrsten Sinema, love her, she's great. And so she was speaking at my event, and then suddenly I had the idea in my head, just popped in my head. I was like, why don't you stand up from your table and like go out and basically ambush her outside of the hall. Um, and so I did. And that singular moment, I didn't realize it at the time, but that singular moment was a huge pivot as well, because that one moment, that one decision, that one like bold action, like I was terrified. It was so scary when I did that, but that changed my entire trajectory like forever. And so yeah, that was another big pivot of my life. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Life is just a ton of unexpected pivots. And yeah, just kind of going with the flow. But also, yeah, just being intentional when you see opportunities, like going for them. But yeah, those are like my two big pivots, I think, so far in my life. We'll see how many more I go.
I know. I can't wait. I hope we can talk again and see where you have gone. So I know there's been some exciting things that have happened for you since graduation, and maybe it was related to this brave moment that you had to go talk to the Arizona senator. But could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing today?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. So, as I was saying, this past semester I was interning in the Senate for the Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema, and my internship ended in May. Um, but here I am again. I am once again in DC, and this is a permanent move because I am now holding a permanent position in Senator Kyrsten Sinema's office. The dream scenario for every intern, my internship turned into a permanent position. So, absolute dream come true. So, yes, I am now here in the Senate on a permanent basis. Um, and so, yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. Congratulations. So, do
Thank
you know
you.
what some of your new roles and responsibilities will be? Have you already started, or is that something that's coming up soon?
Yes, I have been here for a few weeks now. I'm trying to remember. I think this is my fourth week I'm currently in right now. And so it's been pretty slow because we're out of session right now. So
Yeah.
it hasn't been very busy, but like also extremely busy because like the Senate never sleeps. I mean, just because the senators aren't here doesn't mean that we're not still doing work, because we've still got constituents to serve. I mean, Arizona doesn't take a break for a month. um Although, yeah, so the senators definitely deserve this break. They use it, and actually, most of them use it to go back home and meet with constituents and serve with their constituents and find out what they
Mhm.
want. And so, this is a very productive time for the senators, for them to go back to their home state. But we stay here. We hold the fort. Um, we serve as best we can. But yeah, so mostly what I've been doing is kind of finding my feet, getting ready to go. I've already been in several meetings with our legislative correspondents, meeting with different organizations, just learning so much. This entire month has just been so much learning. And I absolutely love it. And yeah, it's been great. I've learned so many things in so many different policy areas now. And so I'm definitely very excited to see what I will be able to do in the future to, help in the Senate and, help my fellow Arizonans. It's very excited to be serving them in this capacity. And I really hope that I can, make a good difference for Arizona and for the United States as a whole. I'm very excited.
Wonderful. Well, Thaddeus, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story and experience. It's very inspiring and wonderful to hear how the ePortfolio benefited you throughout your internship, but very pleased to hear how it is also through that experience provided you now with this kind of exciting next step in starting your career. And I wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so great talking to you. Yeah, absolutely. The highlight of my week.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Well, take good care, Thaddeus. This concludes our conversation. To hear our next episode, be sure to subscribe to Digication Scholars Conversations on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. The Digication Scholars Conversation series is brought to you by Digication, a technology platform powering the most innovative ePortfolio programs in K-12 and higher education. Our website can be found at digication.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for tuning in.